Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I just wanted to do a small little review on a rather hidden gem that I consider a hidden gem anyway, and that is the 1990 cartoon special that aired in April of 1990 called Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue. Now, for those that don't know, back in the 80s and 90s, at least what's going on. Back in the 80s and 90s, cartoons aired every Saturday morning on each of the major networks on NBC, ABC, and CBS. So, with the helping of Ronald McDonald House Charities and McDonald's itself, they decided to come together and combine all these cartoons. You had the Muppet Babies, you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you had DuckTales, you had Alf, you had Winnie the Pooh, you had Looney Tunes, you had them all. And along with Walt Disney Studios, although nobody from the Walt Disney Studios, none of their cartoons were featured. And it was for a specific purpose. Also, around the time of the late 80s and early 90s, was the crack epidemic. And we talked about it a lot on the channel. The government's response to the crack epidemic. Nancy Reagan, who was the first lady in the 80s, her campaign of just say no. So basically, this cartoon movie was designed as a way for kids, as a cartoon special to warn the kids about the dangers of drugs. So in the beginning, George H.W. Bush, he's now the president, and his wife appear, the president and the first lady, Barbara Bush and George Bush. They both appear on camera, and they warn kids about drugs. And then we get into it. We get into the story. What's happening? They show a little girl's house, and then the little girl has a teddy bear of Winnie the Pooh. She has a clock of Kermit the Frog. She has a book opened of the Smurfs, and then the Smurfs come to life, and the Smurfs notice that while the little girl was asleep, a hand snuck in her bedroom and stole her piggy bank. So they notice that the piggy bank is missing. So, so like, who stole her piggy bank? Who stole Corey's piggy bank? Right? And then Kermit the Frog comes to life, and he's like, "Who stole her piggy bank? Who stole?" And then we see the Chickmunks come out, and they're wondering too. And Alf and Garfield. And Garfield, of course, he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to look for the thief. And then Alf is like, either you help or you get eaten. So Garfield helps. Well, they eventually, long story short, they eventually find out that it is Corey's brother. And Corey's brother has a box under his bed. And what is the box filled with? Marijuana. And the Chickmunks discover the box. And underneath the bed, while the Chickmunks are hiding, seeing this interaction between Corey and her brother, Simon explains to the crew, "What is marijuana? This is marijuana." In his Chickmunks voice. Of course, Simon is the know-it-all of the Chickmunks, so he explains it. And then Alf says a little bit of jokes. He's like, "Something tells me this is not your everyday average cartoons Saturday morning." So basically, the kid Michael stole his sister's money, piggy bank money, to go buy a joint. So he's at the arc. Yes, yes, Lisa, it is. He goes to the arcade. He's smoking a joint with his friends, and he's having fun because he spent all his sister's money. What a scumbag, right? This kid, and his other friend uh offers him crack. And he's like, wait a minute, I don't know about crack. I, I smoke weed, but I don't do none of the hard stuff. He's like, come on, what are you, a chicken, right? The typical 80s and 90s peer pressure type stuff. But he's not up for it. He's not up for smoking crack. He tries to get away, but influencing him is this cartoon puff of smoke. The cartoon puff of smoke is the marijuana or the crack or the drugs personified. And they're telling him, listen, Michael, it'll make you feel good. Do it, do it. Like that's like the bad side of his conscience, right? So, but he's not up for it. So he runs away from his friends, but the friends steal his wallet. So he's running after them. And of course, he passes by a dark alley and he passes by a sewer. So who does he see in the sewer? Of course, who lives in the sewer? That's a favorite of 80s and 90s kids cartoons, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And they tell him, listen, guy, you're not as cool as you think you are, doing those kind of drugs. And then he encounters Bugs Bunny. And Bugs Bunny takes him to a time machine. First he encounters the Ninja Turtles, then he encounters Bugs Bunny. And Bugs Bunny takes him to a time machine where 2 years prior to the events taking place in the cartoon, he goes back in time. Where did this all start? And it all started when he started drinking his father's beer, taking beer out of the refrigerator. The father is putting the beer away, and he notices that there's 2 beers missing. And he's like, well, where did these beers go? And the mom's like, well, maybe, you drank them, watching a football game and you didn't really realize. No, they didn't. The brother took them, and the sister knows this, but she doesn't want to tell the parents. So Winnie the Pooh comes to life, and Winnie the Pooh overhears it, and Winnie the Pooh's like, why didn't you tell, your mother that Michael stole the beers and that you're concerned for Michael? But her and Michael have a close relationship, which is why she was so confused when he took the money. So she doesn't want to be perceived as a snitch. So she doesn't tell the parents, even though she knows she should have. So throughout the movie, throughout the rest of it after this, she's pleading with Michael to come clean to the parents about what's happening. And all the while, this is a flashback to when he was a kid, 2 years before when he was younger. And he was actually an innocent kid. And then they do the flashback in black and white. And he tells Bugs Bunny, well, why is it in black and white? And Bugs Bunny says, well, listen, kid, this is a flashback, and all flashbacks are done in black and white. So we flash back to when he was a little kid 2 years before, and he encountered kids playing on the playground. And he comes up to them, he sees them smoking. He's like, hey, don't you want to get lung cancer? Because he apparently thinks they're smoking cigarettes, but they're actually smoking weed. So they peer pressure him. Come on, Michael, smoke weed. What are you, a dweeb? What are you, a dork, a nerd? And he's like, no, I'm not. And he smokes the weed too. And that's how he got hooked on weed. So we see him starting off with alcohol and then getting hooked on marijuana. Then he encounters another cartoon. He encounters the Muppet Babies, Kermit the Frog as a baby. This was a popular cartoon back in the day as well that I used to like. And the Muppet Babies take him on a trip in his own brain, showing him basically what his brain is like on drugs. And they're like in a roller coaster ride. And Miss Piggy tells Kermit the Frog, after this, Kermit, you're going to take me on a wild romantic ride through the canal of love. And Kermit the Frog, of course, disgusted as he always is with Miss Piggy's advances, is like, okay, yeah, whatever. Baby Kermit. And they go through Michael's brain, but then they show his brain on drugs. And it's like the roller coaster gets more wild and it gets more dark. It's really scary. And Miss Piggy's like, I don't like this anymore. I'm scared. So basically showing how drugs alter your mood. That first, you try to do drugs to get happy, but then you become dependent on drugs to the point where, you need them just to feel normal and feel stabilized. So Michael discovers that is happening, but he still doesn't listen. He's a hard-headed kid. He thinks it was all a dream. Even after he's in the park after the brain trip, thinks it's all a dream. So he goes to the park to cool out, and he meets Huey, Louie, and Dewey, the nephews of Donald Duck. These are the only. I said before that none of the Disney characters appeared in the movie. That was wrong. These are technically Disney characters. These were Donald Duck's nephews from DuckTales. Many people remember that was a popular cartoon back in those days as well. Um, they appear to him. They tell him basically he's a loser for doing drugs, and then they sing a song to him. Uh, a wonderful way to say no. This song was produced by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, the two men who wrote all the score, the entire score for Aladdin, the entire score for Beauty and the Beast, and basically the geniuses behind many of the classic Disney Renaissance songs that we loved as kids. You know what I mean? They were responsible for the Disney Renaissance as far as music. They wrote, like I said, all of Aladdin, all of Beauty and the Beast. In fact, Proud of Your Boy, the song from the Aladdin stage play that was taken out of the movie, was the song that inspired the terroristic group, the Proud Boys. But written by Howard Ashman, a gay Jewish guy. How ironic is that considering their politics? But anyway, they write this song. It's a nice little song, a nice little ditty. This is the only really part that Disney really plays in this. But he still thinks he's just tripping out. So him and the Smoke character, they lash out at Winnie the Pooh. They lock Winnie the Pooh in a closet. Poor Pooh Bear getting locked into a closet. But Alf takes him to a fun house. Like he has another hallucination or dream of Alf taking him to a funhouse mirror, and where he sees his life if he continues to use drugs. Like he sees himself becoming like basically a meth head. If he continues down the road he's becoming, because he'll need more and harder drugs to maintain him. Like he's on this destructive cycle. So, but that's still not convincing to him enough. It is not until he meets with Daffy Duck, and Daffy Duck is a fortune teller in this, and he sees that the sister, if he continues down this road, the sister will eventually start to use drugs as well. That he says, you know what, enough. I'm not going to use drugs anymore. I'm going to turn my life around. I'm going to ask for my sister's forgiveness, and I'm going to get clean. So, and that's the end of it. It's a short, little cartoon movie, but it was loaded with everybody. It was loaded, like I said, DuckTales, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Muppet Babies, Winnie the Pooh, Alf, Garfield, everybody that we watched basically on Saturday mornings as little boys and girls was in this cartoon. The Chipmunks, Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Smurfs, appearing in this cartoon. And an interesting bit of trivia, this was the first time that the new voice of Bugs Bunny voiced Bugs Bunny in this movie, Jeff Bergman. Because initially Bugs Bunny was, of course, done by Mel Blanc, which was the original voice of Bugs Bunny throughout the entire classic era of Looney Tunes, going back to the 30s, when they first started airing. Even as movie shorts, before they even started airing as TV, Mel Blanc, who was also the voice, he was, in addition to being the voice of Bugs Bunny, he was the voice of Fred Flintstone too. You know what I mean? So he had recently passed away not so long before this. So Jeff Bergman, who's now the voice of Bugs Bunny in all the newer versions of him, including 1996's Space Jam, became the voice. But this was the first time he did the voice ever. You know what I mean? So what a way to debut, right? And this was the second time only that Disney characters, because again, DuckTales they count as Disney characters, appeared alongside Looney Tunes characters. The only other time was 1989's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So it was basically a landmark in animation. All the networks came together for this important event, sponsored by the United States government and sponsored by McDonald's and Ronald McDonald House Charities to prevent kids from using drugs. Basically, a half an hour long PSA, public service announcement against drug use for kids. It was pretty cool. I remember seeing it as a kid. I loved Alf. I loved all these cartoons. So the fact that we got to see Slimer from Ghostbusters, the fact that we got to see Alf, all these people that I just named together, like as a kid, you're on the edge of your seat. You're like, oh shit, they're all together. Like this is a dream come true. Like, you know what I mean? A crossover in days when you really didn't get that. You know, you really didn't get that back then when we were young. They existed in different networks on different universes. They didn't get any of the superheroes, which I wish they would have. Got Batman, Superman, maybe, right? They didn't get Sailor Moon, which would have been cool. But just the people that they did manage to get was pretty cool seeing it. All the Saturday morning cartoons coming to life on TV. That's cool, man. It was pretty awesome. But it was preachy at times, but of course. But basically, the premise of it was all the cartoons coming together for a good purpose to stop kids from using drugs. I guess now in 2025, years and years later, we would kind of look at it differently because we look at marijuana differently. Marijuana's legalized now. It's considered as a bad thing. But back then, they would, like the message of this movie, they would teach you that if you started with marijuana, you would end up using crack or using heroin or using meth, hardcore drugs. So they wanted to get kids away from that. But yeah, at least it was a cartoon. Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue. It's on YouTube for free. You can watch it on YouTube. Um, yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you, Lisa, for contributing. Thank you, guys, for watching. This is a hidden gem, in my opinion. It got good reviews. People liked it. They never did it again. With these characters. And remember, don't do drugs, or you'll start seeing your favorite cartoon characters come to life. Your sister's Winnie the Pooh teddy bear might start talking to you. Hey, what's up, David? And if your sister's Winnie the Pooh starts talking to you, and her and a baby Kermit the Frog alarm clock starts warning you against using using drugs, you've gone too far. I think it's a cool concept because, he's a teenager, so of course he's not watching cartoons like me. I was freaking 5 when this came out, and I remember renting it from the video store and watching it over and over. So of course I'm be into it. The little sister be into it, but he's a teenager, so he's bugging out. Am I really seeing Garfield talking to me? Winnie the Pooh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? like, maybe I should stop. No. Do I think today, Lisa asked. No, I don't. I think cartoons are not so big. Like, you don't hear kids talking about, I want to watch Saturday morning cartoons. Maybe they would. I don't know. I don't know what Saturday morning cartoons for us kids in the 80s and 90s, they were a ritual. Like, you guys don't understand the ritual of of when we were kids, getting a big bowl of sugary ass cereal and sitting down in front of the TV. Our parents would sit us down in front of the TV and watch these fucking cartoons all afternoon. You know what I mean? On different stations. You know, uh, Fox and Friends. They had they had X-Men. They had Bobby's World. They had Static Shock. Right? Uh, this is how our parents kept us shut. You know what I mean? Like, your mom be cleaning the house. She'd be blasting her music. Uh, you know, your dad be doing whatever, and you and your siblings, your brother or sister, will be sitting in front of that TV with a bowl of cereal, watching Saturday morning cartoons. That was a ritual for us. We don't hear about that anymore. And the commercials for these cartoons every morning, every Saturday morning, was loaded with a bunch of kids' toys. Barbie dolls for girls, uh, uh, the GI Joes for the boys, toys, 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 easy bake ovens for the girls. You know, basically strawberry shortcake. That's the name I was searching for the girls. Um, Dinosaur toys, the Transformer figures for the boys. It was all toys, all toys. You know what I mean? Toys, 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 toys. I turn on TV commercials now. I don't even see toy commercials. You know, especially if it was around like November, December, you'd be loaded with these commercials because Christmas time is coming, and the toy manufacturers, they want your parents to go out and buy these toys. You know what I mean? But yes, Saturday is exactly right. Lisa's exactly right. Cartoons and Soul Train. Saturday was reserved for that. Sundays was for your dad to watch football and for your mom to watch church. And maybe if your parents were into politics, watch a little politics, on TV. But Saturdays was all about you and your siblings watching cartoons. And for people like David and I don't know how old David, I don't know if this still existed for David, but another thing that would come on besides that, this is how WWE got a lot of kid viewers, because WWE would come on after cartoons on Channel 5 with superstars. They didn't have Monday Night Raw. They had superstars right after cartoons. WWE would come on, and American Gladiators would come on around that same time, and on Fox. But on NBC, after cartoons, when would come on would be Saved by the Bell. That would come on, and that's how they got a lot of younger viewers too. They appealed to a lot of the same younger demographics. Uh, both WWE and Saved by the Bell, because they use bright colors, they use over the top characters, what I mean, like cartoons. So they kind of fed off the audience. In those days, uh, WWE didn't want to appeal to 18 to 24 male them, appeal to uh, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old boys. You know what I mean? So they put their programming not in prime time, but on Saturday mornings. Same thing with Saved by the Bell. It wasn't Saved by the Bell was different than any other sitcom in the sense that it put Oh, you were born in 91, David? Okay, so then I don't think no, you weren't around. I'm talking about 89, 90, 91, from about up until 96. Uh Wrestling would appear, but Lisa is absolutely right too with Soul Train. I forgot about that. But these were our Saturday morning programs. This was our Saturday morning rituals. Cartoon, wrestling if you liked it, Soul Train if you liked it, and Saved by the Bell. And then they had other shows too, like VR Troopers. They had Power Rangers. You know, other types of shows that appealed to us as kids that I remember watching. TV. We're millennials, man. TV raised us up. And our parents just put us in front of the TV, to shut us up, and we watched everything. you know, what I mean, on Saturday mornings especially. I don't see that happening today because kids don't. I mean, what? Oh, the only one I know is Peppa Pig. The only one they really watch that's well known. It would have been that, and of course, given that they appeal to the same demographics, Saved by the Bell did a PSA, anti-drug PSA, around the same time that maybe we'll do a video on and talk about. And the WWE did a couple, and Pee Wee Herman, Pee Wee's Playhouse, was another one from this same era that came out and would air around those same times, that Saturday morning block of cartoons and kids shows. Which I don't think, like I said, I don't think it'll work today because I don't think it exists today. I don't hear kids talking about, oh, I'm gonna watch my cartoons on Saturday. Like, now you have Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, stations that play cartoons, every single day. So it's nothing special about Saturday in the way that it was when we were growing up. Thank you guys for contributing, man. I love this one because, like I said, this video series allows me to explore nostalgic themes of when I was real young. The stuff I really liked. I'm going to the video stores, and I wouldn't want to rent the movies or tapes that everybody was watching. Something that was really obscure. Wait till I do my review on Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck was uh, yeah, I will, David. I will. Uh, Howard the Duck was another one that I must have watched the movie Howard the Duck like 80 times when I was a kid, and everybody else hated it. It was one of the worst movies ever, but like me, some about it I liked it. I like when they showed the duck in the girl duck in the bathtub. I used to probably rewind that one scene in the movie when I was like 8 or 9 years old, like 20 times watching that. Anyway, David, yeah, thank you guys for contributing. I will be doing more past WWE videos, other series from that classical era. But I love doing these cartoon series too, man. 80s and early 90s, man. There was there's nothing more magical than that era to me. Like, that's the sweet spot. Whether you're talking about movies, cartoons, music, wrestling, whatever, You know what I mean? Like, that's the sweet spot to me. Peace, guys.